Hello, I'm Jonathan Mariyama, and this video is going to be about the Battle of Verdun and the Somme. In 1916, the Great War has been in full swing now for 2 years. The Allies consist of Great Britain, France, Russia, Italy, Serbia, and Japan. The Central Powers consist of Germany, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and the Ottoman Empire. While the United States has yet to enter the war, we are shipping tons of supplies to France and Britain on top of giving them a ton of loans. At this point in the war, it is still very much a stalemate. On the Western Front, the French and British are dug in deep against the Germans, and the trench lines have not shifted since the Battle of the Marne in 1914. The Germans, however, want to change this and plan a massive offensive at Verdun. The plan, however, is not to capture French territory, but in the words of Erich von Falkenhayn, chief of the German General Staff, the objective is not to capture French territory, the objective is to bleed France white. The idea was simple. Germany would attack a French position so important to France's history and culture that France would give everything to protect it. The answer laid in Verdun, a heavily fortified French city. On February 21, 1916, the Germans launched their massive offensive with a 10-hour artillery barrage, firing close to 1 million shells. After this, German troops started their advance, and by June of 1916, elite German troops called Sturmtruppen, translated to stormtroopers, managed to capture multiple French positions armed with a deadly new weapon, the flamethrower. And yes, these Sturmtruppen influenced everyone's favorite stormtroopers from Star Wars. The French, however, kept fighting valiantly, and like the Germans predicted, France was willing to defend Verdun at all costs. Beginning in September of 1916, France would launch massive counterattacks aimed at taking back their previously held positions, and were mildly successful in doing so. Verdun at the time was the longest battle in world history, only to be surpassed by Stalingrad in 1942. The battle would end in December of 1916, lasting 9 months and 3 weeks, surpassing the siege of Petersburg during the American Civil War by 1 week. Verdun saw appalling casualties. France suffered 379,000 casualties. The Germans suffered around 330,000 casualties. Over the course of the battle, 40 million artillery shells would be fired. Many of these shells remain active to this day and have claimed over 6,000 innocent lives since the end of the war. The plan was a failure. The Germans bled as much as the French did, and by the end of the battle, nothing was gained. The front lines remained the same. The land would remain permanently scarred, as seen from multiple pictures. This is a before and after of a French fort just outside of Verdun. As Verdun got underway, the French pleaded for the English to launch an offensive to take some of the stress off of Verdun. In June of 1916, the English agreed and planned to attack at the Somme. The plan was similar to Germany's: lay down a massive artillery barrage and then cross no man's land. On July 1, 1916, the English launched a 10-hour artillery barrage. When the English troops got out of their trenches and started to track across no man's land, they were slaughtered, mowed down by German machine guns. The Germans had built 30-foot deep bunkers prior to the attack. These bunkers are called Stollen and are often reinforced with wood and sometimes with cement. Combined with the state-of-the-art German helmets, the Germans were hardly damaged by the 10-hour artillery barrage. When the English tried to cross no man's land, they were slaughtered. On top of walking straight into German machine guns, the conditions of the battle were terrible. Bad weather and rain had led to very muddy conditions. The British lost 35 men for every yard gained. Within the first hour of the assault, 60,000 British troops were shot dead. Over the course of the next 6 months, the British would suffer over 400,000 casualties at the Somme, combined with another 200,000 French casualties. Germany also suffered dearly, suffering anywhere from 400 to 500,000 casualties. However, to this day, the German government has not released an official casualty count at the Somme or Verdun. The Somme woke England up to the horrors of industrial warfare, and by the end of the battle, Germany had clearly won. Like the Verdun, nothing was gained at the end of the slaughter. Both sides were at the same positions they had started 6 months prior. Despite the horrific amount of casualties and death, the battle would rage on for 2 more years, and the United States had yet to enter the relentless bloodbath.